Hello everyone at Autism Pride. I'm really sorry that I can't be with you today. I'm actually in Gibraltar at the minute. Well, I'm not. I'm lying. I'm in a car outside a garden centre with various passers-by giving me strange looks. But by the time you see this, I will be in Gibraltar for a family wedding, so I couldn't attend today. So I'm really sorry about that. But I hope you're all having a really, really good time. And again, hats off to Rachel Cotton for all of her hard work and tireless efforts to make Autism Pride a thing for us locally in Reading. I've got a list here, so I'm going to read from it. I've got some questions that Rachel sent to me. It's asking me about my autistic strengths that might have kept my head above water prior to diagnosis. Now, I would say my optimism. Back then I thought I was optimistic, and I hope I still am fairly optimistic. But however, optimism and bravery can look a lot like clinical naivety. So in hindsight, I would say my clinical naivety is what kept my head above water prior to diagnosis and some support. At the start of that journey, we're going back 2008 when our autism awareness in our own family began, when my then 6-year-old daughter was diagnosed with Asperger's. That was by the National Health Service, not the NAS. I was diagnosed by the NAS. They were diagnosed by the NHS. So, and that doctors then, for children at least, really understood that girls could also be on the autistic spectrum. She was diagnosed incredibly quickly. And then in 2010, my youngest daughter was only 2 and diagnosed just autistic. So what I found out as a result from that, ultimately that I was autistic as well, but what I found out from that to begin with was that every support group you went to, anyone you spoke to in education, outside of the National Health Service doctors, really didn't understand about autism and girls. We were a bit of a very, very strange thing. I was even told that it was impossible that I had 2 autistic daughters because autism only happens to boys. So not only were, every support group, if it was just the parents there, they all had sons, no one had daughters. So it was a really, sorry, I'm just playing my phone because it's doing something. It was a really scary, isolating and terrifying time. And then to research everything and find out that, well, wait a minute, I have pretty much all of these traits or these suggestions when they're talking about women being autistic. That was even scarier, because back then you couldn't really, as much now, I mean people did, but not as much now, come out and say, oh, I'm autistic too, because, social services might get involved, and this huge myth that we don't have empathy, which is ridiculous. I think we have too much empathy, and we just hide away from it because it's overbearing. So yeah, that's what it was like back then. So I had a real drive to start making, some people outside, I had a real drive to start making some awareness about women and girls on the autistic spectrum. And my hyper-focus prior to that was media. So I thought, why not merge the two? Why not merge the love of making media? So I made films. The first was called The Kindest Label, which was fictional, yet highly based on mine and other people's experiences about being undiagnosed. And I was very lucky that the NAS saw that video when it was put on YouTube and invited me to go and speak for them at one of their conferences. And the video was described by someone at the NAS as a cry for help, and I really think it was at the time. So that's how that started. And then after that, I actually decided I was going to go and get my formal diagnosis, and that was at the Lorna Wings Centre. So I filmed it, and I made a film called The Epidemic of Knowledge, which I think you might be seeing at some point today. And that was a real success. Now, I didn't have any money to make these films, I'd like to add. Every film I've made has had a budget of £200 or less. So it's not like I had this pot of gold that I could dip into. It was a case of just saving up a few pennies here and there and doing the best we could. So the best we could was actually quite good, because The Epidemic of Knowledge ended up going to Cannes. It ended up going to winning at the San Francisco Film Festival for the Disabilities and Women's Issues, Rome, and actually went to the International Peace Festival in Orlando and won 2 awards there. And I was lucky enough to be able to go to attend that one. Took my youngest daughter, which was great because it was 2 minutes from Disneyland. And then also on International Women's Day this year, it was shown at the United Nations offices in India, which was just phenomenal to find out that we'd been picked for the We Care Film Festival out in India and Bhutan. So the motivation basically for the Kindest label was to get some awareness out there, and it was the cry for help to get people to start listening in different levels, so that worked. And then the motivation for Epidemic of Knowledge was to show that autism isn't something to be scared of. It's not something that you get from the MMR. It's not something that you catch, can be caught or cured. The epidemic is one of our knowledge and understanding about autism throughout the world, and particularly in the UK. And to help other women feel less alone, other girls and other mothers, because there are a lot of autistic mothers out there that are too frightened to find their peer groups because of the stigma that comes from being an autism parent. So, and also the good thing about films is films can travel further than I can. I might only be able to go away maybe once or twice a year to somewhere to show a film, whereas a film you can put it on YouTube, put it free online, and that's important. It's free. I'm not in this to make any money, that's for sure, because anyone can see it anywhere in the world. I've had feedback from everywhere. The places I never thought I'd get feedback from, and from people that are journalists or people that are doctors, down to dads, anyone. So what else can I think of to tell you about? Oh yeah, so the film went to the UN in India for the We Care Film Festival, which is good. And the good thing about films is it's something that you can send someone before you go somewhere and say, oh, have a look at this. This is what I've been up to. Does this help? And I've been able to reach out to lots of other people and been helping out. I've spoken a few times and attended meetings, spoken once and attended meetings at the House of Commons, and things like that are incredible, because if you're able to even have your small toe in the door and have good friends and colleagues that are there on a regular basis, the chances of getting everybody else's voices heard are much higher, and also takes you a little bit more seriously on a local authority level. If on your website you can show that I've been talking to lots of other people in those kind of arenas. So what I'm doing at the minute with Autism Berkshire and with Thames Valley and Bracknell Police is police training. And I made another film called The Right to Be Understood, and that came from the statement of arrest, where you say you have the right to remain silent, but we don't often, as autistic people, have the right to remain understood. So I did a survey with autistic adults, and I made a film with 2 autistic adults that have got experiences of being in police custody, and it's going really well. So the idea was to do one and then have the film for them to use whenever they wanted, and now I'm booked up until December with voluntary talks with the police. But it's great. What we're asking them to do is, after the statement of arrest, don't change that, just at the end say, is there anything, do you have a disability that you wish to let us know about at this time? It would just help so many people. So I think I've got a lot to be proud about to be autistic. I'm proud of being autistic, because being autistic has helped me be hyper-focused. It's helped me, and knowing I'm autistic has helped me not be so black and white in my thinking, and connect with others and try and see the grey area, because I know that my brain really isn't set up to do that naturally. I can't begin to compare where we are now in 2017 to where we were in 2008 when it comes to autism, women and girls. I now can't park my car. I'm not very good at parking my car anyway, but I literally can't park my car when I go to the clinic once a year for my youngest daughter, because the car park is always full, and when I go in it's a sea of girls, whereas before it was a sea of boys. So I think that speaks for itself, and it's just an absolute joy to see so many upcoming advocates, so many female mums coming out as autistic, so many young women with a whole sea of role models to look up to, and not have to grow up in isolation and feeling less than. So happy Autism Pride Day, and it's just, autistic and proud. Lots of love to you all.